Hey guys, Rock21 here, and after 2 entire months with absolutely no album reviews at all, I am finally back in business. And over the past 2 months, I've been checking out tons of great new music to add to my catalog, and even though I can't wait to talk about them all, first, I want to talk about a band I've always loved that's very near and dear to my heart. Led frickin' Zeppelin. My gosh, these guys are legendary. You guys probably know how much I love Zeppelin by now, and I'm even thinking about making the entire month of August a Led Zeppelin month to commemorate the band's 50th year anniversary. They're just fantastic. And you guys probably remember last year in April when I reviewed their album Houses of the Holy, which I loved. Very interesting, but still excellent album. And that really reminded me, Led Zeppelin has barely ever made a single dud album. And I think my family owns like 6 out of like 9 of their albums or something. They're just fantastic. I mean, look at this selection. Led Zeppelin 1, probably one of the greatest debut albums of all time. Led Zeppelin 2, probably one of the greatest sophomore albums of all time. Physical Graffiti, probably one of the greatest double albums of all time. I already talked about House of the Holy, fantastic. Led Zeppelin 4, which is in my dad's car right now, probably one of the greatest rock and roll records of all time. But of all these golden years Led Zeppelin albums, there's always been kind of one that was a little different and weird to me. And that was Led Zeppelin 3. And even though a lot of fans now see it as being a really, really, really great album, at the time when it was released, a lot of critics and a lot of fans were really disappointed. Most all of the songs on the album are acoustic. There was no big, grandiose rock anthem on the album, and even a lot of the rockers were kind of weird. It really is kind of a weird album, and I clearly remember seeing it on the Walmart shelves, just sticking out there, and I'm like, should I buy it? And I'm like, no, I don't know. But then I finally bought it, and now it's time to review it. So, will I like it, or will I just think it's plain weird? Let's check it out. Track 1 of this mostly acoustic album opens up, ironically enough, with one of Zepp's heaviest tracks to date, the Immigrant Song. And my gosh, is it awesome! The hammering, galloping guitar riff, the bone-chilling battle wails, the epic, vivid imagery of the northern invaders trek across the frigid shores of Scandinavia. Oh yeah, this is the song a battleship of Viking warriors would blast out of their speakers as they burned and pillaged an entire European village down to the ground. And it was also the first Led Zeppelin song I ever heard. In elementary school, a second grader sung it in the talent show, and it was not as good as the Led Zeppelin version, but still, it was my introduction to Led Zeppelin, so that's kind of cool. And even though the song only clocks in at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and it may not have a guitar solo, this is still probably the most kick-ass, awesome rockin' song they've ever made, and to this day, it stands as being my favorite Led Zeppelin song of all time. Awesome. And now we run into the first acoustic track off of Led Zeppelin 3, and it's called Friends. And it is the exact opposite of the Immigrant Song in that I don't like it and it creeps me out. Yeah, you guys heard that clip I showed you guys. Does that sound like a song you would actually want to listen to? It's creepy, it's weird, it's unnerving. There's like this really mysterious, unearthly vibe about it. And usually I would say that's pretty cool, but with here, I just don't like it at all. It's just a weird song. And a lot of people always say that, oh yeah, Friends is one of their best acoustic songs ever. No, it's not actually. It's not really that good. And I will give Led Zeppelin props for experimenting, because there's really no other song that sounds like this one in their whole catalog. But that doesn't mean it's not good. And also a lot of people say it's their introduction to Eastern music. And yeah, I will say that's probably where a lot of that, like, unique vibe comes from. But They already did that on their first album with Black Mountainside, which is like a 2-minute long filler instrumental, which is actually way better than this one. So, Friends is just kind of a weird track, and I really don't like it. And I would much rather do this cool thing when I rotate the little circle thing right there. I'd rather do that, because this is fun. I think I'll do it for the rest of the video. Thank you. You know, I think that the real opposite of Friends is probably the next track, Celebration Day. It's loopy, kooky, whacked out, totally out of control, and tons of fun, with the intro sounding like some kind of electric banjo hillbilly music. It's quirky, it's weird, but it's just so exhilarating and fun, it's impossible not to love. We all know how much Led Zeppelin admired the blues. I mean, the blues, it's probably the foundation for pretty much all modern musical genres, so it really makes sense that Led Zeppelin would admire the blues as much as they do. And they've recorded tons of blues tracks. But I think out of all of them, the very best is track 4 off of Led Zeppelin 3, Since I've Been Loving You. My gosh, this song, it's magnificent. Jimmy Page's guitar playing on this track isn't really playing. It's like his guitar has a voice of its own. It's like his guitar is singing for itself. It's just beautiful. I mean, every single little lick he plays in this whole song gives me the chills. I mean, I'll bet. Try to find a single guitar lick in this whole song that doesn't make your bones quiver. It's just pure, raw blues. Just so passionate. You can feel the passion pouring out of this song's pores. It's just such a great song. I think it just might be one of the greatest Led Zeppelin songs of all time. And I know a couple Led Zeppelin fans that don't really like it, but I am not one of those guys. Since I've Been Loving You is an epic track, and if this studio version isn't enough, check out live versions of it, and I swear it only goes up from there. If it weren't for the Immigrant Song, my favorite song off of 3 would probably be Out on the Tiles. Has a muscular, jittery guitar riff that's just too cool. A really sweet, catchy bridge. And heck, even the title of the song is cool, Out on the Tiles. But probably the very best part about this song is the way it showcases the masterclass rhythm section of Mr. John Paul Jones and Mr. John Bonham. Probably one of the greatest rhythm sections in rock and roll history. I mean, the groove these two guys are able to lay down is just beyond sick. I don't even know how difficult it must be to be able to play this song. I have tons of respect for all 4 of these guys, and I just think this is a really awesome deep cut that all Led Zeppelin fans should really love. I like to think of Led Zeppelin 3 as an album of 2 faces. Side 1 is entirely electric, except for Friends, but Side 2, however, is entirely acoustic. And starting off Side 2, and pretty much setting the mood for the entire second half of the album, is Gallows Pole, an excellent rendition on a classic folk song. It's also one of Led Zeppelin's darkest and most sinister songs, about a maid being hung on the gallows. Kind of gruesome, but the song is great. It has really, really good build-up. It starts out kind of quiet and slow, but then it slowly builds momentum until the crazy, manic ending with a really good fiddle solo. That is something I never thought I'd ever say about a Led Zeppelin song, but there you have it. An excellent fiddle solo. The banjo work by John Paul Jones is really great, and Robert Plant does some awesome caterwauling. It's a really good folk song, and probably one of their best acoustic songs. What is there not to love about Tangerine? It's just a beautifully simple acoustic song about citrus fruit. And if you want to hear Robert Plant sing even more about a citrus fruit, you should check out Led Zeppelin II's The Lemon Song. I should really make a perfect playlist about this. Of all the songs in side 2 of Led Zeppelin 3, most Zepp fans can agree that That's the Way is the very best one. It's beautiful, graceful, and just a lovely work of art. At first I kind of thought of this song as just another generic acoustic song, but when I really looked into it, it had some really, really, really great lyrics from Robert Plant that showed a lot of maturity in his writing. Also, it has just lovely acoustic guitar work from Jimmy Page, and it just makes out to be one of Led Zeppelin's finest acoustic tracks they've ever wrote. That's the Way proved that the heaviest rockers on earth could be just as awesome with acoustic guitars and mandolins. For the longest time I thought this song was pronounced Bron-Yr-Aur, but it's actually called Bron-Yr-Aur, and it's named after an 18th century Welsh cottage where Jimmy Page and Robert Plant vacationed at. The countryside vibes of this cottage actually inspired a lot of the folksy elements and vibes of Led Zeppelin 3, and 3 of the songs were written there. Bron-Yr Stomp is just a happy, jaunty little acoustic stomp that just never seems to get old. In fact, I think I've listened to this song more times than any other song on the album other than the Immigrant Song. It's just that good. It's like the Welsh equivalent of a country music hoedown. It's just so much fun. It has some really, really, really great acoustic guitar work from Jimmy Page. And for the final track on this album, we got Hats Off to Roy Harper. And I have no idea to this day what the hell I'm supposed to make of this. It is the most bizarre, strangest, weirdest song I've ever heard from a major label rock artist. I just am so confused about everything that's going on in this song. It's so odd. I've never heard anything like it. It's so weird. You just have to listen to it yourself. I have no idea why they even put it on this album. And normally I would say, this is a great way to end a great album, but this time, this is a really bad way to end a great album. Hey, Hey, What Can I Do would be a much better way to end off Led Zeppelin 3. So guys, that was my review for Led Zeppelin 3. So what are my afterthoughts? Well, I thought that Led Zeppelin 3 was a really, really, really interesting album. And you know, at first I was kind of reluctant to buy it. I was like, oh yeah, there's like all these acoustic songs, and oh yeah, the critics hated it, and yeah, there's not that many famous songs, and like a lot of songs are really weird and all that stuff. But it seemed like once I bought it, the more and more I listened to it, the more and more I started to like it. I mean, there's 2 songs in the album I don't really like that much, but the rest of the songs are just magical. The Immigrant Song, Since I've Been Loving You, Out on the Tiles, That's the Way, Bron-Yr Stomp. These are really, really, really good Led Zeppelin songs. And this whole album really emanates of this cool, brisk, Northern European vibe. It's really Nordic and Celtic, almost. Like, the folk brings this magical aura to this whole album that really brings it alive. And I actually like Led Zeppelin 3 a lot more than the last Led Zeppelin album I reviewed, Houses of the Holy. And I think Led Zeppelin 3 is a wonderful album, and even though it may not be one of the very, very best Led Zeppelin albums, it's still a great classic album that all Led Zeppelin fans should own.